I understand people who look at Rodri and don't see anything special. We live in such stimulating times that a player who doesn't score goals or provide assists seems like they're not doing much. Then we look at Rodri and see a guy who doesn't have any superpowers. And maybe that's where the magic of watching a player like him lies. How does an unremarkable guy who doesn't run much or dribble win a Ballon d'Or and get named best player at the tournament? It's unbelievable. The thing is, in this generation, he's the player of this generation who understands football as a complex game better than anyone. Because every move has a consequence. That's fundamental. But the average player, he thinks about the consequence of his pass. Rodri thinks about the consequence of the consequence. It's like a chess game. The average guy sees a free piece and goes for it. He solves the immediate situation, but then he opens up the defense and 2 moves later his king is exposed. The move was good by itself on its own. But within the sequence, it was a complete disaster. Rodri is the opposite. His pass seems like it doesn't solve anything. Almost bureaucratic. The thing is, he wasn't playing for now. He was setting up the play. That sets up the next play. And that's why when we watch, it looks easy. It's not that the play is simple, it's that he's already played it out in his head before you even see it. This play here is pretty basic, but it sums up exactly what I'm talking about. Here, Rodri makes a pass. It looks like a very simple pass. And when we pause at this scene, we look and think, man, the guy really is bureaucratic. He had a pass through the middle. Much more chance of scoring, but he prefers to pass it to the side to Dani Olmo. Here, Olmo controls it with a bit more space, tries to cut inside. The play doesn't really lead to anything. Then the ball goes to Pedro and he shoots, but the ball goes out. But when we go back to the start of the play, then we understand the whole reasoning and how a guy like that thinks, even without being the most flashy guy. Just a regular guy, like me, like you. He manages to see some very interesting things. Check this out. Look, Portugal's build-up play, we can see both fullbacks deeper together with the 2 center-backs. And as Portugal starts building out from the back, the defense kind of gets disorganized. For example, look at Ruben Dias, who's the center-back on the right. He's far from Renato Veiga. There's a lot of space to attack through the middle. Portugal tries to play out wide. Spain matches up all over the pitch. The excellent Cucurella wins it. And the ball here is up for grabs. It ends up loose. This ball belongs to no one. And it's exactly from behind that Rodri is arriving here. When he notices and scans the play, what does he see at first? And this is where I talk about how we're seeing 1 snapshot, but he's seeing 2. 2 snapshots ahead of the same play. He looks, he sees the 2 center backs very far apart, and he sees his team's attacker with the potential to break through here. What goes through the mind of the average fan? My friend, play the pass inside and take advantage of this opportunity. But what goes through Rodri's mind? This space is too good to be true. And knowing Ruben Dias, his teammate at Manchester City, he immediately thinks and says, man, Ruben, who's one of the best center-backs in the world, won't allow this pass to go through the middle. And that's exactly what I'm saying. He thinks about the consequence of the consequence. And look at what happens in the play. Rodri gets closer to the ball without taking his eyes off it. And we see exactly what I mentioned. Ruben Dias is going to prioritize closing the center of the field. And as Rodri observes all of this, he anticipates the play. And instead of passing the ball inside, which would probably find a much more difficult scenario, he prefers to pass the ball outside, into Ruben Dias's blind spot, behind the defender. Here, Dani Olmo's control isn't that good, it's a bit behind him, and it disrupts the play. But just with this pass, he already forces Ruben Dias to turn and lose his reference point. If Dani Olmo had controlled it better, he could have found Oyarzabal, played the pass, and Spain scores. Ultimately, nothing comes from the play. But one player can't do it all, right? Again, a similar play. Rodri sends a long pass, and Cucurella attacks through the middle. And Ferran Torres is right here on the wing. He looks for the pass outside, and Ferran slips up here. The play kind of leads to nothing, but at the beginning of the move, we see a very similar scenario. Laporte builds up the play. The opposing defense pushes up with one of the center-backs, and at the base of the play, Rodri is kind of watching and understanding everything. He realizes that if the defender steps up, there will be space behind him. And he kind of creates these snapshots of the game. So it's not about running more, it's not about being the strongest, it's not about being the one who technically delivers the best pass or finishes the most. Rodri's game is different. He's the guy who seems to see the game from above, as if he's watching from a TV camera, and he can see every movement. And most importantly, he understands the consequence of each movement. The ball is about to be contested again. Look at Rodri already dropping back, scanning the field, identifying and mapping out the play, and the pass comes back to him. What does he have in this situation? A center-back who stepped up and he followed all the way to almost the midfield. And there's a huge gap in the defense. First, the fan and the average player look and say, "My friend, play the pass into the open space." That Cucurella or Ferran Torres will attack through there. But what he actually sees behind that is the opposite. He knows that one of the defenders or fullbacks will come to cover the space behind the center back, and that's why, once again, he's going to look to catch him on the wrong foot. The fullback considered his first move, covering this space. Rodri focused on the second, catching him on the wrong foot, in behind the defender. And that's what he does. The ball arrives, and he's going to look for the pass in behind the number 5, the ball goes there. And that's when Ferran manages to gain that space. Cucurella even gets in the way of the fullback, and if Ferran had maybe adjusted his run just a little better, he would have arrived stepping into the box. Like I said, one player alone doesn't make a team. The thing is, I don't know anything about chess, but I've tried playing chess with people who know how to play, and you start trying to make some moves that seem intuitive, but the guy is always one move ahead of you. He offers you a piece for you to move forward and take. You take that piece and leave a huge opening. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4 and wins the game. And then it takes you a little while to understand what happened there. The thing is, you saw a snapshot of the move. The guy saw the whole picture. The next one, and the one after that. So he might lose at first to win in the second move. Got it? And that's what makes the unflashy player one of the best in the world. Man. And it's not just me saying that. Guardiola himself said that Rodri is the most important player he has ever coached in his career. Is it because he scored the goal in the Champions League final? Of course not. It's because he makes the game happen, if you only think about the next move. In Brazilian soccer, you often see someone pass forward, the receiver faces away from goal, passes back, and nothing happens. But if you plan 2 moves ahead, you might not make the most amazing or beautiful pass, but even a basic pass can create an opportunity up front. This has always bothered me, especially in fantasy games where someone wins by picking players with the most goals, assists, or shots. Even if they didn't score, they don't always choose the best players, and that bothers me. Defensive midfielders are usually useless in these games. If the guy makes a lot of tackles, he's useful. If he doesn't make a lot of tackles because his team keeps the ball 60% of the time, he's useless. And then we at Futebol Maximo got upset and said, let's create a game our way. That's why on August 2nd, the Futebol Maximo fantasy game is coming. You pick your players and their real-life performance impacts the score. And again, I'm not talking about goals and assists. I'm talking about real in-game impact. João already posted a video explaining the fantasy. Don't watch it yet. Wait until this video ends, then check it out. Mark August 2nd on your calendar and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Now, about this other play. This play decided the Portugal versus Spain round of 16 game. Look how interesting this is. Spain takes a quick free kick. The ball gets here on the wing to Fabian Ruiz, and Rodri is there in the middle, reading the game. He's not the guy who runs. He's not the guy who covers the most ground on the field. But he's the guy who watches the game the whole time. He plans ahead while the others are acting. The ball is going to get to him. And then he already seems to understand the next steps. He knows he's going to be marked by these 2 players because the ball basically works like a magnet. And João said this in a video where he analyzes how Busquets plays, who has similarities with Rodri. And I'll also leave that recommended here at the end. And he plays this pass through the middle, but this pass through the middle. Basically, Rodri actually had more than one option here, right? He could pass it to Ferran Torres, or he could try to send this ball here to Mikel Merino. And looking at the play from above, the way it seems Rodri also sees it, to me his decision-making becomes very clear. First, Mikel Merino is being marked much more closely, and the passing lane to him isn't that clear. Second, Ferran Torres over here receiving the ball is going to create a future impact. What is it? Ruben Dias. Once again, Ruben Dias here. He only has 2 options. Either he closes in on Ferran, or he lets Ferran have space. And it seems that's what Rodri is picturing and seeing in the future. If the ball gets to Ferran, something good is going to happen. If Ruben steps up, the space is behind him. If Ruben doesn't step up, the space stays in front of him with Ferran. Rodri passes the ball to Ferran Torres. And that's very smart, right? He controls the ball already getting away from the defender. Look at the space that opened up behind Ruben Dias. He stepped up. And Mikel Merino is making a run behind him. Look how interesting this is. The defender, I think it's João Neves here, on Mikel Merino. He doesn't even imagine that he's going to be important in the play. But Rodri's pass brings a consequence, and then there's the consequence of the consequence. Ferran controls it, passes behind the defense, goal by Mikel Merino to decide the match. And that's what happens. Because people who are overstimulated by easy dopamine look at the guy who makes a sideways pass, or a pass that doesn't lead to an assist, or they open the stats app and look at Rodri's numbers and see there's nothing fantastic, and they get kind of frustrated. But I hope that with this video, you change the way you see the game. And maybe it will even impact your career as a player. or in your weekend pickup games, which I know you play too. Man, this one is even more subtle. Rodri is down here walking, just walking again. He's one of the least intense guys on this Spain team, especially when it comes to playing with the ball. He comes in kind of slow. You can even see that he does a quick look over his shoulder. Really light, really subtle here to understand the situation he's going to receive the ball in when the ball gets to him. So consequence 1 is Dani Olmo passing the ball to him. Consequence 2 is what he's going to do after he gets the pass. And that's what happens. Check this out here with Jeremy Doku, also Rodri's teammate at Manchester City. Doku does a quick head check too. He sees Yamal stuck to the sideline and the Belgian fullback is right here behind him. He's already starting to move to jump on Yamal. What does Rodri do? He controls the ball, turns, and here he already knows what to do. He's already understood the whole situation and the future picture. At this moment, it's a 2-on-1. Doku and the Belgian fullback, who I'm not sure who it is here, against Yamal. But from the moment Rodri even speeds up the pass, look at how he controls it, with no intention of passing at first, then he speeds up the pass. He knows that Doku is getting drawn to Rodri and the ball, compromising his defending. And when this ball gets past Doku, it's one-on-one. And one-on-one for a winger with Yamal, my friend, that's guaranteed fun. And there's more, okay? He knows that as soon as this pass goes through, the fullback will be forced to step up. And if the fullback steps up, there's a huge space behind him. Doku is going to be late because Doku committed to the ball and Yamal controls it, already getting away from the marker. Jeremy Doku arrives late and Yamal fakes going one way and goes the other. And here he has an angle to shoot. He shoots. It's dangerous. But it doesn't become a goal. So it doesn't become an assist for Rodri. And a lot of people forget about this kind of play. There are some details in football that go far beyond just the movement of the player with the ball or the marking that the player is going to do, but it seems like it's about what the player is thinking about doing and how his body shows that. I'm not the chess guy. I'm not the poker guy either. Our Joãozinho Cavanha is the poker guy, and sometimes I hear him talking. And I pick up a few things. By the way, let's keep pushing him to make a video. Connecting the logic of poker with soccer. I'm sure he's going to give a great lesson. I'll be the first in line. In fact, I'm starting a petition down here in the comments. I know that in poker logic there's a thing about the mind game, the mental game, about what you want your opponent to think you're going to do. At the same time, you read the player's behavior, how he plays, how he gestures, how he approaches a given hand. And from that, you make your decisions, anticipating or understanding what he's going to do. And for me, this move here, also between Portugal and Spain, is a lesson in that from Rodri. Spain starting the counter-attack. And this one here might be one of Rodri's biggest runs in the whole World Cup. He's not really the type to push himself physically in that way. As much as it might sound like a joke, there's some truth to it. And look how interesting this is. The scenario we have here is Rodri leading the counter-attack, not being pressured, and Portugal's defensive line running back. And that's fine. They're protecting the space in behind, and that's part of it. But what does Rodri seem to anticipate here? He does a little head check. He's scanning to decide the best passing option he has. Theoretically, there isn't an easy passing lane to Oyarzabal here. He could pass it to Dani Olmo, but the pass would be easily intercepted, or Dani Olmo would have very little space to work with. And that's when he notices João Neves' behavior. There's a line of 4 defenders here. And the only guy who's not so used to defending depth, since he's not a center-back, is João Neves. Everyone else is facing the space in behind, but João Neves is facing forward. What happens? Rodri maps out and understands this scenario. Hey, if this guy is facing me, it means he's going to come and challenge me as soon as I face him a bit more directly. So I'm going to anticipate this guy's thinking. I won't give him the chance to come and challenge me, because maybe he does better defending in this kind of situation. I'll be 2 steps ahead. And look what happens. João Neves facing forward. Look how he even loses his balance here. Where is the pass going to go? In the blind spot, behind him, almost always. Rodri, wearing number 16 here for Spain. He looks for this kind of pass in the defender's blind spot. The ball goes behind João Neves. Here he loses visual contact with the ball, and when he realizes it, he's out of the frame. And Amal is stepping into the box. Then Amal arrives. João Neves has to arrive late. He gets beaten by the cut inside. And then the player arrives late against Amal. Once again, it's a cut inside. Rodri to Amal. Once again, a dangerous situation. He strikes it really well. And what a save by Diogo Costa. What do I want to show with this video? I want to show that soccer is more than just technical moves. Even if you aren't the fastest or strongest on your team. Maybe you're not the most technical with passing, dribbling, or finishing. There's a lot of space in the game. And maybe today's soccer is looking more for this type of player. The player who solves problems and sets the tempo. The guy who doesn't just think about his own actions. I'm going to dribble here now because I beat the defender, and then I'll think about what I'm going to do. No. I'll avoid the dribble because maybe if I avoid it, I'll create a much more positive situation up ahead. Or maybe I'm receiving a pass and I won't try a super risky through ball. That could have negative consequences later on. Maybe I'll just play the ball to the side and I'll play that pass quickly. I'll play it first time and be a little faster than the opposing team. That's what Rodri does. He does the basics really well. While everyone else is acting, he's thinking ahead in the game.